Hey there, welcome to Adventures in Pop-Ups. Here we go. It's another episode. I am Rachel. This is Blake. And today we are going to talk about tips for setting up your pop-up camper, maybe for the first time, or maybe you're seasoned and you're just looking for tips along the way.
Yep, setup tips. So, pre-trip preparation is our first thing to talk about. Number one, practice at home. If you just bought a new pop-up camper, you probably were showed how to put it up and take it down and given some tips at purchase, but you're really rusty and you're kind of nervous and a little anxious about going camping for your first time. So do a dry run in your driveway, right?
Right. Or your backyard, whatever you got.
Practice at home. Practice on, your mother-in-law's 40 acres or whatever.
Even in the street, if you're just practicing set up and tear down, they're not going to get that mad, right?
Right. Yeah. If you're just practicing setting up and tearing down on the street is fine if you're going to move it back into your driveway or into the garage.
Make sure you get practice setting up and tearing down, and even just practice sleeping in it. Even though you might feel silly in the driveway, you're going to realize, oh my goodness, we don't have hot pads for the dinner we just cooked, or whatever you might have forgotten, or your pillow right inside the house.
Checklist.
Yes, and I do have a checklist to help with all of that. So practice ahead of time to help you out.
When you have the checklist, you're going to remember your different steps and what comes first. And there are certain things you want to do before you do other things. So having a checklist, we made a checklist when we bought our first from them. Like, this is what you do, So just a run by run. Here's the 7-8 steps to setting up a pop-up camper. Keep it simple. The more things you add, obviously, the more time it's going to take to set up. So if you're staying for a while, then you might want to have a screen room, an extra shelter area, or lights, all kinds of different things.
Or if there's a lot of rain in the forecast, I actually just watched a video where they showed their rain setup. They had a huge tarp to extend their living space, to a lot more of the camp.
To keep it dry.
To keep dry in more spots.
Site preparation. You can sometimes choose a level site. You could find site recommendations through YouTube or online, perhaps, from different blogs, which is kind of why we started making the channel. We were looking for good spots, good sites, level spots, and just a review of the campground, what there was to do around there. So we're like, hey, this is information that people are looking for. Let's put it out there for them.
Also, along with choosing a level site, is when you get there, pay attention when you're parking, because sometimes the edge might slope off a little. So just be thinking about levelness as you're specifically deciding where to park it, and don't forget, how far away is the plug-in? How far away is the water if you have any? So you hate to set it all up and then realize that it doesn't reach, or it's not. If we would have just done that, it would have been way more level and we would have had less headache.
Yep. Think about how long your cords are and where you want to be positioned on the site to have, optimal space. Clearing debris, making it more comfortable, getting, moving the table, whatever. Coming in, backing up. Let's see. Efficient unpacking and time use. Organize your gear.
Yeah, definitely organize your stuff, because I know how easy it is to, you're anxious to leave on the trip and you're just throwing stuff in there. But while you're throwing stuff in there, keep in mind, you're going to need your water hose. You're going to need your setup stuff. I would hate for you to bury the stuff you need first. So we have a setup box and some stuff that goes right where we can reach it. That way when we get there, we're not digging and, which we have done before. Where did we put the water hose? We're yanking stuff out of our camper everywhere. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Plan ahead of time. Make sure your first grab items are where you can grab them first.
And there's several leveling systems. To back up to the last one, there's several different leveling systems. We love the ball leveler. There's, what's the other one's called?
Anderson is what we have right
levelers. Now. Those work pretty good, and they have rubber mat that helps you keep it in place. But those can, make it a lot more level, and you can sleep with your head on the high side if it's a little off. Your main thing is your door is not going to open and close very well unless it's pretty level. A lot of people talk about the fridges. I don't think the fridges have that sensitivity to being a little bit off.
We've never had a problem.
But just keep that in mind. That's one thing that I don't know why we waited so long to get that ball leveler. That was a game changer for leveling.
Yeah, that was really nice.
There was a few sites that were really like crazy, and that ball leveler brought it up, 3, 4, 5 inches. It made up huge differences when there were differences that needed making up. I mean, I've rolled over 2x4s and other things. You can do all kinds of different things to give yourself a couple of inches, but
it really can save. If you have an unlevel spot, it can be another 20 minutes of setup time added on because you're backing out. Oh, no. Okay, try again. And you're backing out and you're adding another block or whatever you have. So having that ball leveler really is a good time saver. And you can just pick right where you want to park it. And then the low side, you bring it up.
They're only about $80, $100 or something.
Something like that. We'll put a link in the description.
Super expensive, but they're not super cheap either. I mean, they don't really probably wear out or break. Special items. Don't forget ponchos, headlamps, flashlights,
yes,
lanterns, especially when you're arriving after dark. Nothing worse than getting to a rainy spot, dark, late in the night, just finding out you didn't have your pillows. And
why does it sound like you're speaking from experience?
You can't find your flashlight, you don't have a poncho, and it's 11:30, 12 o'clock at night because there was stuff that happened and you just got there way later than you thought you were going to.
Stuff happens. Be prepared as you can, and obviously be flexible on the rest.
So you might want to grab some of them cheap little ponchos and just have them. Yep, have them in the little easy open spot or in your tow vehicle, and then you won't get wet.
If you've prepared in advance, your dinner could be like PBJs or something super easy so that you don't have to think about it. Our favorite setup hack probably, though, is Sloppy Joe's or some other make-ahead meal where you just come. What we've done is I bring the pressure cooker, or really anything you can boil water in, separate from the camper, so the camper doesn't have to be set up. So one time I set the
not one time, many times.
Well, the first time that was really memorable, I planned ahead of time. I knew where my pressure cooker was. It was not inside the camper, so I knew right where to grab it. Maybe it was inside the door. Anyhow, I set it probably on top of a cooler because the cord was too short, right by the power spot. So it got water in there. We had sealed, they were frozen, I think, Sloppy Joes that I had made days or weeks before and frozen. Set it up, water boiling. Ever so often we would kind of move the bag around, flip it over the other way, check on it. So we're setting up camp, and guess what? Dinner's ready. And we just sat down.
We might have not even been all the way set up. Hey, dinner's ready. Okay, cool. Break time.
Kids are getting cranky, antsy, and we bust out, a can of potato chips and some baby carrots and Sloppy Joes, and there you have dinner with basically no effort.
Setting up the camper, you got stabilizer jacks. You don't want to, unless you have the super heavy duty ones, you don't want to, be leveling your camper with your stabilizer jacks.
Right.
They're just to put pressure down and keep it from moving and wobbling and making it feel like you're out at sea when you walk around the camper.
Right. That is not for leveling. That is just to stabilize it so that the camper's not just resting on wheels and the tongue.
First thing you do when you back up, right, you put the wheel chocks in. Or you put a brake in if you have tandem wheels like us. You put your wheel chocks in, and then you can unhook from the truck, from the tow vehicle. We were on vacation. We had heard stories about it, but we were on vacation in Hocking Hills, Ohio, and a lady about lost her finger. I mean, she gashed it and cut it really hard, so that was scary.
Because why?
Because she parked on a spot that had a incline. It was downhill, not too extreme, but it was enough that it went flying.
She forgot the wheel chocks.
She forgot the wheel chocks and disconnected from the truck, and boom, And it took her hand and her finger right with it. And then
in her panic, she tried to grab it, and don't do that.
And the metal grabbed her finger, grabbed her back. So the camper went down the hill and into the woods. It hit a tree and bumped a curb. It went over a curb. It had a curb too, but it hit that curb with enough speed that it bumped over the curb. Yep. So you have your raise the roof after the wheel chocks. Again, remember the wheel chocks and the brake leveling. You're leveling the camper with whatever you're using, and then you're raising the roof, plugging it in, cranking it up, raise the roof. Make sure, listen carefully. You unlock all the latches. A lot of people will forget a latch or, do the front ones. And
triple check.
Yeah, triple check. You do it and then, hey, check it for me. Make sure they're all done.
I actually have seen people put reflective sticker on the outsides of the clips so that when they're open, you can tell the difference just by looking down the side. You can quickly see whether it's even if it's bad lighting or whatever, you can tell. I thought that was a good tip.
Yeah, that is a good tip. Yeah, you raise the roof, pull the beds out, and then if you have a slide out, which that's a lot more space in a pop-up camper if you have a slide out. So if you're shopping for one, try and buy one. Our first one didn't have it, and we were in a couple of rainstorms in Florida, and it was tight. I mean, it was really cramped in that camper. We still had fun.
Oh, yeah.
But
camped it up.
Air conditioning and a slide out is definitely a 2 must-haves. Let's see here.
Pull the beds out. Pull out your slide out.
Put your shepherd hooks in.
Put in the shepherd's hooks.
Yep. And flip up your sink. If you don't have a high wall, you're going to probably be flipping or lifting your sink and counter up. Don't forget to turn on your fridge. Get that start cooling if you don't have it on a battery already. Which,
by the way, we didn't mention in the pre-trip stuff, but some people chill their fridge in the driveway, or they'll turn it on the battery setting.
You can do propane
it'll pre-chill while you're driving to the site a little bit.
Yeah.
That helps.
Crank handles. You're going to want to, lubricate your lift systems and your crank handles occasionally. Every year probably, or every other year at least. As well as doing the whiffle tree. Some of the maintenance stuff, it probably seems really overwhelming. It did for us when we first started.
Yeah.
And really, I don't know, I think it took me an hour or two to do the whiffle tree. It's just 4 or 6 bolts, and you drop a pan in the middle and clean the grease off of the metal sheet, and then put new grease up there and re-screw it back up. So it really isn't a whole lot. But spraying and lubricating your cables and your lift system, your crank handle assembly can just keep you from having it snap, people have a snap cable and they're like, I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on fixing this for repairs, so they just sell it,
Right. People have gotten great deals because people snap their cable and didn't want to deal with it. So your pop-up camper should not be hard to crank open. If it's extra laborious, I would check all the stuff that Blake just said, because you might not have a well-oiled machine, if you know what I'm saying. So I would definitely check that. That is a warning sign that it's not in great condition and you don't want anything to go bad.
Yeah. Exterior setup?
Yeah, so once you have the main camper set up, now it's time for all your little details. Or if you have 4 children, while you're doing the harder jobs, you're handing them the bag chairs, you're handing them the outdoor mat, here, set this up. Oh, you put up a chair, and then maybe we could do it all simultaneously. But if you don't have access to helpful children, or if they're not that helpful, you can do all your extra little details. So some people go way elaborate, and they've got the whole outdoor kitchen set up and a whole tarp system set up and all these extra things. We like to keep it simple. I mean, we put out a mat, we put out chairs, we decide, one tip is decide if you want your awning or not before you raise the roof, because the awning is a lot easier to reach before you raise the roof.
Well, it's pain in the butt. You can lower your roof back down so that you can reach it and then lift it back up, but it's kind of weird. It's kind of wonky. It's kind of I've done it, but I don't like to do it. So
it's better to do it when it's more handy.
Yeah.
So work through your details, and the more you go camping, the more you're going to realize what you guys like. Do you like having an ice maker? Do you like all these extra things? So to each his own on all the specifics. We'll have lots more videos, which, by the way, we do have lots more videos. If you are looking for other tips and tricks, hacks and mods, campsite reviews, subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends. We would love to hear from you guys.
Thank you. Hopefully you've pre-done some things, made it a little easier. It's stressful to try and cook on your first arrival over the campfire, because then you have to wait 45 minutes, an hour for dinner. So you can speed it up and make it a 5-10 minute prep instead of a 45-minute to an hour and 15-minute prep. That takes a lot of stress out of dinner.
Yes,
like we were saying.
Our first pop-up camper bought it from this lovely family who also had 3 boys, raised their kids camping, and they said they had a tradition every morning. They had bacon and eggs, was it, over the campfire, and that sounded wonderful. So we tried that. Only it was our first time. We didn't know what we're doing. We forgot like tongs or like cooking utensils for the campfire. We forgot hot pads.
That was our dry run.
I think it was our first actual like out camping.
Okay.
It took forever getting the campfire started because we were very rusty and not so knowledgeable or practiced or experienced at starting the campfire. We were hungry and we were crabby. So unless you're good at that stuff, I would honestly save it until you feel like it, and then it's like a fun experience. But honestly, our go-tos are eggs I already made in advance, yogurt and granola, those kind of easy things, cereal. I personally like to keep it easy, keep it simple, so that we can do more enjoying and less struggle bus.
At the end of the day, you don't want to be on a struggle bus. You want to be having fun, making memories, enjoying the outdoors. And so we hope that, these tips for setup and of course tear down, you're just doing everything in reverse. It helps to prepare the night before you're going to be leaving. Start to tidy, start to organize, clean, sweep, maybe even take your mat up, especially if you think it's going to rain or it might rain. Put an awning down, whatever you think it might, picking up some chairs, putting stuff away, just picking up a little bit. And that way it doesn't take an hour and a half for tear down. It only takes 45 minutes.
Always takes longer than you think.
It always takes 20 minutes longer than what you think. So setups 15 to 25 minutes, tear downs 40 to an hour and 15, sometimes an hour and a half if you're really just taking your time and not hustling. But I think if you prepare the night before for 15 minutes, you can get it packed up in about 40-45 minutes, as long as you're not dragging your butt too bad and you have some help.
And if you don't have too much stuff. If you have all the elaborate setups, have fun with that.
Just plan an hour and a half, and just be patient and tell everyone to be patient. It's going to be an hour or two before you leave. And then you got to dump afterward. Don't forget to dump. I don't know how many times you forgot
most
to
people
dump.
don't have a black
bathroom.
tank.
If you have a black tank or a great water tank,
right,
and you're using a sink to wash dishes and stuff, remember, dump your water on the way out of the campground if you don't have full hookups.
Right.
Otherwise, you might stop somewhere and pay $10 extra for that.
Been there, done that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for watching Adventures and Pop-Ups. Stay tuned. We have lots more great content coming at you. We've just been on a 2-state tour that we did a few things in. We can't wait to share with you about that. We love you guys.
Yep.
Drop us a comment. Let us know your adventures, your tips, what helps you with setting up. Go ahead and share your setup horror stories if you want, whatever you've got. We love to hear from you guys. Thanks for your support.
Until next time, may God richly bless you, and happy camping.
Happy camping.